Hey, this is Rob Anspach with eHeroes, and for those keeping count, we're on episode 277. And Google is starting to really upset a lot of people, especially when it comes to email. So I brought on what I consider probably one of the best email marketing. I can't say gurus. I'm not a big fan of that word, but he's pretty up there. And so welcome, Dan, or yeah, Dan, and it's Baniak, correct? Right? Did I get that right?
Begging, yeah, everyone has their own ways. Works.
And and see, we rehearsed this before we even got on here, and I still mispronounced it. So I
But,
apologize, but you know,
but
it's kind of like Anspach. Everybody mispronounces that, and it's funny when it comes to SEO. I always tell people you're never going to get my name right anyway. So look for, you know, author, speaker, whatever, and usually you can find me. For you when it comes to, email marketing, they'll find you.
true, true. Yeah, especially if you're on Facebook. So yeah,
So the big thing right now is two things that we want to cover, at least in this episode, and we'll probably dive deeper. But you know, email marketing. I've been doing email marketing since I started, in the digital realm, which was about 1995. So we're going back a long time, but a lot of things have changed, and Google has gotten their mitts on everything. And Google owns Gmail, and they're starting to lump everything together. They're starting to decide for themselves what you should read, and what emails are important for you, which I think is really garbage. But how do people get away? I mean, how do people, kind of get their emails?
yeah. I mean, there's like two sides of it. There's looking in at the back end and just kind of more of the technical side of it, but then there's also more on the front end of things where it's just the actual content that you're writing. Um, the main thing is, and what a lot of people, I mean, right now it's like, what's the date? The 25th of January. So February 1st is coming up really quick, and Google's implementing extra restrictions where you have to have the back end set up perfectly, especially if you're sending over 5,000 emails so a day. Because if you don't, then you risk getting your domain blacklisted, which just means like your emails just are not going to get sent. They're not going to get delivered. Your audience is not going to see them, which means you're going to have to get a new domain. And it's just like this whole big process of setting everything up. So, yeah, a lot of people that aren't prepared are going to feel it, especially if they do rely on email to generate a lot of the revenue in the business. People that are prepared for it, I mean, I was just telling you right before we started recording that like I've been working hard at making sure that our clients are fully set up. So like people that are prepared for it, their emails are going to get seen. So the
Mhm.
main thing is just making sure that you're following the guidelines that each of these providers are giving you. So Google, Yahoo, iCloud, whatever it is, for the most part, all of them follow the same guidelines. As long as you have your DKIM, SPF, and DMARC set up, it all passes, you're good. That's like the back end side covered, the very basic side of it. The more front end side of it just comes down to how you come across for your audience. If you do want people to actually receive your email, don't want to be spamming them with a bunch of very salesy material. You don't want to be, too impersonal with them or just barraging them with garbage content, just to
Mhm.
be frank. If, people open up their inbox and it's like, three, four different emails from you just this past 24 hours, and none of the content is valuable, good, entertaining, they're probably going to get sick of you. And instead of just doing the unsubscribe, they might even just report you as spam. And
Mhm.
the more people that report you as spam, same thing. That affects the actual health of your domain, which means less people are going to see your emails, less revenue is going to get generated, less calls are going to get booked, and it's just going to cause a lot more headache for your company. So that's just kind of like a quick nutshell of, make sure the back end is set up, but make sure on the front end of what you're actually sending out is useful for people
Yeah.
because that's how you build your reputation.
I've noticed an influx of emails over the last 30 days from people that I don't recognize. that I've probably haven't subscribed to anything in years that I haven't bought from, and all of a sudden it's like wham, and then I'm getting daily emails from them, and I was like, and like you said, it's too much, so I click spam, and I think we're getting into this thing now where yes, we're past COVID, but we used to sit in our living rooms because we weren't working up, we weren't going to work. We're checking our emails. Oh, okay. But now we're just tired of it. So we're just spam, 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 spam. Or we just throw everything into a delete file and forget about it. And that doesn't help either when it comes to open rates. I used to send out a daily newsletter through Constant Contact. And I kind of taken it down to once a week now. But the thing is, I had better open rates doing daily than I do weekly.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. This is actually something I speak on a lot with clients and just some, people that reach out to me, is that there's a misconception that daily emails are ineffective. First of all, there's the overarching misconception that email is dead. Clearly, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
There's the other misconception that daily emails or receiving too many emails is just spam. It's annoying. And like I said, yes, it can be annoying. It can be spam if you're sending irrelevant information that just is not helpful, is not entertaining. But I'm not surprised that you had better open rates for daily emails than weekly, because the thing about email is, or in advertising marketing in general, there's, once again, front end and back end. The front end is shotgun approach. It's social media, it's ads. You're trying to scoop as many people as possible, gain their interest. As soon as they opt in to the email list, they now get sent to the back end, where I call it like the inner circle of people. This is where they get to really know you, who you are as a person. They get to know your offers more. They get to know, your just the culture that you have inside of your business. It's just, everything's out there. It's more intimate. And the reason why email works so well is because you pull people out of social media. On social media, you're constantly scrolling. Doesn't matter which platform you're constantly scrolling, and you're battling for attention and you're competing with all these people that are on that platform. For email, yes, there's a lot of advertisers, marketers, depending who you are. For a marketer like myself, I'm on a lot of email lists, so I do get a lot of content from people. But the average person, if you have a business helping people create, make money online, the average person is probably like their friends, their family, maybe their work, some other important stuff. And then it's just like you and your business and your company. The reason why you get higher open rates with daily is because you're always on the top of mind for people. They opted in, they, came in through the ad, they came in through, got your PDF, bought your free ebook, whatever it is, because they got to a point where their pain threshold has now crossed the limit where they're like, I really need help. Like I need something to change my life right now. So they opted in. And then when you send them emails, you're constantly at the top of their mind as the solution to their problem. So their problem's always in their mind. Let's say they hate their jobs. They wake up the next morning, my God, I hate my job. I want to quit. They open up their phone, open up their email. It's you. Oh yeah, this guy can help me. And every day this happens. And how I describe this is it's like planting a seed and you're watering the seed. As soon as that person opts in and you send that first email to them, you've now planted your seed. That sounds really weird, but you've now planted the seed in their mind. And now you're watering it. And it's growing and growing and growing the more emails you send, because you're agitating the pain, you're building the desire and the aspiration that they have for the life that they want. And you're also teasing the solution and teasing other people's results who are just like them. And that's what, once again, gets them past that threshold to actually book a call and make the sale. But if you were to just do this once a week, there's so many things happening during the week, they'll just forget about you. Maybe it's their kids, they got dinner plans, work drama, whatever, health problems. People have more things to worry about than your emails. But having that daily email is just that sort of small seed that you plant every single day. You touch on it every single day, and it keeps you at the top of mind. Whereas once a week, once a month, like, it's better than nothing, but it's quite ineffective. Like you can't expect to see great results, especially when people can log on to their Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and then see the same person over and over again as they swipe. Like
Mhm.
they're going to be online rather than you. So you got to compete for that attention.
Right. Well, and the thing is that all of our attention span right now is going to social media. So we're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and we're seeing hundreds of people or hundreds of different messages. You know, getting that email from that person, now they're tied into that email for a couple minutes, so they're no longer scrolling somewhere else.
Yep.
And so that's the nice thing. It's kind of like you know um, getting physical mail. We don't get enough of it anymore, so that the pieces that we do get, we're going to open. Yes, some of us get thousands of emails every day, and we have to decide which ones are going to get our attention. But the ones that we see constantly, we remember. Oh, yeah, I want to read what Rob says today. You know, and so yeah, my open rates for daily was so much better. But I have books to write. I got this to do, and it's just like, oh, I don't have time to write a daily email anymore. That was just so much easier to do. Write 52 emails, and I'm like, okay, space them out, schedule them throughout the year. And
Yeah.
it was just easier that way. And yeah, maybe it's lazy marketing on my part, or maybe I just need more people to write content. But dailies were better.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say it's lazy marketing at all. It is hard. It takes a lot of bandwidth to write content, let alone write good content that people actually want to read. So with a lot of the clients that I've talked to, it was the same exact problem. It's like they have entire businesses to run. They have teams to lead, sales teams to manage. They have, corporate level executives to manage, and then like especially fulfillment. Some are stuck in fulfillment. Like there's so many other priorities than just getting a daily email out there. And the reason they've come to us is because usually the thing they tell us is like, yeah, we send emails. It's inconsistent. Some days it's every day. Some days it's just once a week. It's just whatever we have time for. But the thing about emails is, I'm going to go back to the same analogy of planting the seed, is like the reason the seed grows is it's the compounding effect.
Mm-hmm.
The more, once again, I'm going to basically repeat myself, like the more you email people, the higher chance you have at actually converting them into a customer, because you're constantly hearing about them. You're building that sort of know, like, and trust factor with them. And you can't go wrong. Like, especially if you're trying to get people to feel comfortable to dish out $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 on whatever it is that you're selling, you just have to show up every day. You can't just expect to show up once a week, once a month, and be like, okay, pay me. Like you haven't built up the goodwill or the value or the connection with that person yet. So yeah, like it's not lazy marketing. It's just it takes a lot of effort and work and bandwidth, but that's why there are email marketers, copywriters out there. That's why there are people that can actually help you get your message out there.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's also just what grows your business. Like the more
Yeah,
people that know.
to me, it was always about simplicity. So that's why I've been using Constant Contact for years. And it's not that it's any better or any worse. I just think that for me, it was, it became kind of second nature. I knew how to get in, get out, design the thing. And I've jumped into other people's, active campaign and keep and this and that. And it's like, good Lord, can't you make this any simpler? But I did help a client with their keep, and we had to, fix their DMARC and their DKIM. And to me, that was just more than I wanted to deal with. So I turned it over to my team, and I think that's another confusing area of most marketers, is that they can write content, they can send out emails, but when it comes to the back end technical stuff, they just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, no, it's a problem. I mean, I know you mentioned how like it is frustrating that Google can basically make decisions on behalf of you of what you should read, what you shouldn't. I would almost argue, like for the most part, it works fairly well. And I think if you know how to play the game, that's to your advantage. Because going back to the same point of people that or marketers that don't know how to take care of the tech side, how to take care of the back end, like they're going to get sent to spam. They're going to get sent to promotion.
Hmm.
And let's say, you and your competitor battling for the same lead. If you have that edge, that literally just that slight edge of knowing how to set up the back end, how to set up the tech side, which is fairly simple. Like people, I think, overestimate how difficult it is. Like there is a learning curve to it, but once you know how to do it, it's the same process over and over again, and it can be really quick. But if you have that slight edge, your competitor is going to go into the promotion or the spam folder. They're never going to get seen. You're going to get all the attention. And in our sort of digital world, like attention is the currency that you have to earn. So that's sort of, like I said, if you know how to play the game and you know what Google is looking for to make sure you don't get sent to spam promotions, you have a distinct advantage because your email is going to be pretty much marked as like an important email to read. If these people are only receiving emails from friends, family, and like work and important stuff, and your email is lumped in there, it's kind of hard to not read it, especially if it's entertaining. If your subject line grabs their attention, like you're 50% of the way there. Now they're
Yeah.
reading your email. Now they're like, okay, like thinking about buying your product or booking a call with you. Maybe next time they'll actually book the call. Like it's all about getting those micro commitments over and over again.
Yeah. It's, for me, I almost got blacklisted a while ago, and I still see sometimes, my deliverability because I will seed my own list with with other emails, that I own. And so I go in and like, damn it, I'm back in junk, and I think that everybody that has a list should have their own email in there so that they get their deliverables or at least see where they go. And it took me a while. And yes, I had to play Google's game and I had to pay for their whatever it is. I think it was $3 a month. Now it's $6 a month. It's just so I can have my email and get emails. It used to be free, but nothing's free anymore. So it's the way it is.
No, yeah, there's these software companies are good at making money. They'll find any possible way to charge you. I mean, smart business on their end. We need it. So yeah, they got that on lock.
Yeah, but from your experience though, I think there's a lot of people out there that just want a message out there, and that's great. They're not selling much. Maybe a $20 book, and then there's others that are selling, five, six, 10, $20,000 programs or more. My experience, if you're going to send out emails, if you're going to market, you're probably, you know, uh, at least going to, for me, get better results on a high ticket item than you would on a low ticket item. It's the same amount of work that you got to put in, but yet,
Mhm.
why do you think people will elect to sell a low ticket item constantly?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree that, and this is something I advise all my clients to do as well, is focus on high ticket in the email because the thing about most of them is they're already selling something low ticket on the front end or just giving away a free resource. And once again, like you get that micro commitment, and for some people, the sales cycle, at least for high ticket, could be a month, could be 3 months, 6 months, 18 months.
Mhm.
So if you're going to put in that time, you might as well get the highest return possible. And same thing, as I mentioned earlier, is like front end, back end. Email is more of a back end system. And let's say, you're running a business, all the profits are made in the back end. This is a quote from like Bejo Schooling, which I like, is revenue is made in the front end, profits are made in the back end.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you have let's say you have a $20 book, you're better off taking a shotgun approach on social media and then just presenting it to a bunch of people, being like, hey, here's my book. If you want to read it, here you go. You're probably going to get more buyers that way. First of
Mhm.
all, so you're going to get more revenue. But second of all, now you're going to be able to collect their emails. And if you're a smart business owner, you have something in the back end to sell them. So you continue to nurture that relationship. So not only do you get the $20 up front, which might pay for ads that you're spending money on, or if you're completely organic, then that's $20 for you, especially if you're a one-man show, then that's basically purely profit unless you have publishing costs. And then But, you know, if you are running ads, if you have a team to take care of that $20, especially if, like, you know, say 100 people pay for that $20 book, like that's not going to be enough to
Right.
payroll or to pay your ad costs. So you're going to need something else that's going to make up for that. And that's the back end stuff. That's higher ticket. Um, so that's, yeah, that's a lot of the businesses that have come to work with us have underutilized their email marketing. And for, you know, for many of them, they've been able to collect an extra like 500K to $1 million within the first year of just being consistent with it. One of our new clients, we started working with them at the end of September. Within the first 9 days of us just consistently sending emails, they made $72,500 just from like a 13-word email that we sent to their list. But then across the next 100 days, they're able to collect an extra $700,000.
Wow.
For them, they're very reliant on like they're very much focused on ads and paid traffic. So having that extra $700,000 makes a massive difference when it comes to reducing the ad costs, paying sales teams, and just in general having the business continue to scale.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the things though with added traffic, whether it be from email or anywhere else, is the systems in place that you have with your staff. And if they can't handle the extra calls, the extra emails, the extra flow, everything's going to be, you know, a shit show.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you prep the team, you know, say, hey, look, when we do this, when we help you find all these hidden profits, is your staff going to be ready?
Yeah.
You know, because I
Yeah.
know with, you know, a lot of my clients are lawyers and doctors, and they're very brilliant people, but their staff is so comfortable doing one thing. And as soon as we start getting them extra clients, we getting extra calls, we get the staff is like, I can't handle this. I was so used to doing nothing. Now you're making me work. And so we get blamed because they don't know what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. It's funny how maybe more in the corporate world or the brick and mortar world, you know, having so much work that you can't handle it is kind of like it's not really a compliment. Whereas in the digital world, a lot of these sales guys, they're paid on a, you know, incentive basis, on like a commission basis. So it's like, yes, book me out. Get me as many leads as possible. Because yeah, you know, that's the exact, I love how you said hidden profits because that actually happens to be our like agency name. But it's exactly that. You know, you should never pull your punches around trying to book your team out, regardless of whether you're a CEO or a marketer. And in terms of like prepping them, it's if you're on the digital side, they're always going to be prepped. They might get overwhelmed by the amount of leads. Worst case scenario, you just be like, hey, you know, all of our calendars are booked out, and you know, we're gonna have to put you guys on a wait list.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go wrong with that because that now builds urgency and builds a sense of exclusivity where these people now really want to buy because they're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, you know, this person's clearly in demand. So either way, regardless if this is brick and mortar or digital, like that's the best case scenario of you having so much work that you can't handle it, because then you're getting the added benefit of that exclusivity, of that urgency and scarcity. So lean into that. But when it comes to like preparing your team, at the very least, just make sure that they have processes in place in terms of like, I'm gonna just speak to sales teams right now, but like sales scripts, setting scripts. Because if they're just kind of sitting around doing nothing, they're not really fully trained as a salesperson or as a setter, and then they get an influx of leads. One, yes, they're gonna get analysis paralysis. It's gonna be even harder for them to actually make use of what they or make use of their knowledge or lack thereof. But two, all the effort or the money that you put in to bring all these leads in potentially can get wasted if your team's not fully trained on. So for us, one of the expectations we set for our clients is like, at the end of the day, what we can control is the amount of calls we book for you guys. Call quality comes down to the opt-in or like, you know, where people came in on the front end, which is usually not designed by us. We're always, you know, have to consult on that to bring in higher quality leads in the front end. But if leads are high quality, they're booking calls, but for some reason sales from emails are low, then that's when we start looking at the sales process. Like, okay, what's being said? You know, are they being followed up on? The leads, You know, how soon is the sales team reaching out to them? How soon are they booking the call after reading the email? There was one company that we worked with where they were like, you know, they had the ability to book out a week or 2 weeks in advance. Like that is not what you want to do. If you are getting someone to book a call, get them to book a call within 1 to 3 days. That's it. Don't give them a higher, like a longer time frame, because once again, the reason they want to book a call is because they're in a state where they want to change, whether that's in a lot of pain or they just are in so much desire. So you want to use that as your leverage. You want to use that momentum. So yeah, like in terms of prepping your team, just make sure that they have the resources and the training that they need to actually do good work and to be able to close these deals.
In a previous podcast, I had mentioned that one of the things I like to start seeing from a lot of companies is more automated follow-ups. And it doesn't have to be complicated. We all have these phones, we can all take videos, and we can just take a short video and thank the person or tell them what the next steps are and put it in a video or put it in a follow-up email, and it all can be automated. And it doesn't always have to be you. It could be a team member, it could be whatever. And so the next steps, let's say I'm going to an event and I get the email and it tells me everything about the event. And then, day before the event, I get another one and it has a video of me telling them all the exciting things. And then a few hours before the event, they get another one from somebody else with another video. How much better is that person going to be prepared to spend when they get to that event? Because they've been prepped. But I think a lot of people just they look at it and they're like, oh, these sequences, they're just confusing. I don't want to do it. Just hand it off to somebody. Well, you know what? I think I like the process of AI, but I also want to see more humanity put into these processes.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. I mean, AI it has a use case for sure, but nothing beats the human touch that you can add into follow-up sequences or even just the daily emails that you send out. I know one of the coaches that I'm subscribed to, he at the end of each daily email always has like a selfie of himself with like a piece of paper written with like kind of the main lesson of the email. Like it's just small things like that really stack up. And I know going back to the point you made, you said you're a simple man, but it's like same thing. Like people overcomplicate the sequences too much. And I mean, I'm not saying that you have to have it all like, airtight dialed in. Like just take the 80-20 approach. Because for us, it's the same thing. We're just focused on simplicity. Like are the, 20% of things we can do to drive 80% of the results? Usually with new clients, it's just making sure that we're consistent with the daily emails because that's usually what brings majority of the revenue. Once we feel like we're kind of plateauing at a certain amount every month, then we go and then we start to figure out, okay, what kind of sequences can we create? Whether it's a welcome sequence, maybe it's a post call sequence, whatever it is. The best part is you have now, let's say you spent 30 days doing daily emails and now you want to focus on sequences. The best part is now you have 30 days worth of data of what worked, what didn't work. And the best part is this takes no extra work. You take the best performing emails, put them in the sequence, because if they worked on the daily broadcast, they're probably going to work for the sequence, obviously depending what the sequence is about. But that's the same thing. Like that's kind of what we focus on. Just like focus on the things that are going to bring the biggest results first, then focus on the little things that are going to start, adding onto it, but get that data first, basically. Like I think a lot of marketers, especially copywriters, can be a little bit more emotionally driven. And I don't blame them because like a lot of what we do is just based on human psychology, but you're never going to know what works unless you actually start to look at the numbers and break things down.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the stats from one of our past emails, and we had redid some of the theming in our template. And I'm looking at it and going, wait a minute, how is this person clicking on these links? These links aren't even supposed to be in the template. So I had to go back to the template, and for some reason, the links were still embedded in new pictures that shouldn't have been So, sometimes looking at the stats will give you an idea of what's working and what's not working beyond the scope of the actual email, because people like to poke and they like to click and so sometimes you have people testing your templates, your emails, just to see where stuff goes. So
Mhm.
always look at that, because it could be going to the wrong place. you know at least that's my observation. I can always see the same people clicking, so, time and time again. And I was like, okay, I sent this many people opened, it's always the same people. And that's why when I did it on a daily, it was always great, because it was the same people. I knew who was going to interact, I knew who was going to you know take action and buy stuff. It was just automatic. um I think the more you sell, or the more you tell, the more you sell. It's just always been my philosophy. But for me, it was always also keep it simple. Don't make the emails too complicated. Give it to them so that they can read it in about 2 minutes and they're done.
Mhm.
But here's my thing is that I love to send templates out that have a picture, it has a video, it has this, it has. But then there's a lot of marketers that just do straight text, and sometimes that actually outperforms anything with a graphic.
Yep. So we actually, like, yeah, pretty much. Well, actually, like, not most of the emails that go out on a weekly basis, out of the 7 that go out on a weekly basis, 5 of them are full text. 2 of them have photos. The 2 of them that have photos are always the emails that show results that our client has produced for other people to drive even more
Mhm.
desire. But the reason why, like, at least this is my assumption, my guess as to why text works, is because to get reading is faster than listening, and it's faster than watching something. Like,
Mhm.
there's, I know, at least in my space, like the digital marketing space, online, coaching space, a lot of people throw hate on those that like send voice messages, because
Oh, I hate voice messages.
there we go. So it's like you have to listen to it, and if it's like a minute long voice message and it doesn't have a multiplier to speed it up, that's just a minute of your life gone.
Mhm.
Whereas if that person just took the time to, especially on Slack, like for myself, I'll typically not read or listen to the voice message. I'll open up the AI transcription that pops up, because it's so much easier for me to read through it. So while the picture is, or the video is a nice addition, the text, people just get through it a lot faster. They get to the point faster.
Mhm.
It doesn't really interrupt anything. Their flow, especially, that's a big thing that I'm not going to dive too deep into, but like, you want to get people in a trance when they read
Mhm.
your stuff. So by having a picture, you interrupt the trance. By having a video, you interrupt the trance, because now they're supposed to either divert their attention if it's a photo, or in some cases, if it's like, a video that leads them to another page, like, then it's just this whole thing of like, oh my God, now I have to move away. This is why there's some, there's a lot of ads that sort of optimize on trying to stay on social media, or Instagram does a good job of this. Is like, if you click an ad, instead of it leading you to a Safari page or like a Google page, it opens up its own little window inside of Instagram. So it keeps you on the platform. Because, yeah, there's nothing more annoying than having to sort of interrupt your flow or interrupt sort of what you're doing. Because maybe you hopped on email to see if your lawyer emailed you, and now you're reading a marketer's email and you don't want to go to the other thing. So it's like, yeah, it's that kind of dynamic that I assume is happening.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that, have a certain platform they like to use. And there's so many of them. And I'm sure that you've worked with a lot of them. Is there one that you feel is more simple than others, or is it more, I can't say profitable, but you know uh, more accepted?
I mean, so between the email service providers, like, so Klaviyo, or Klaviyo, however you want to pronounce it, is good in the simplicity sake. It's usually used for e-commerce, but I honestly just like it. Like, everything's just so clean on it. That's my personal preference in general. The most easiest for us to manage client work is Active Campaign, though.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say it's the simplest one. It has a lot of capabilities, but if you just learn the basics of it, then you have enough. but it's just the best one. It's like the highest regarded one in the industry, and it's the one that's most widely used. I would always choose Active Campaign over anything else. Usually, if a client's on a different provider, I'll try to encourage them to move over just because it's just so much simpler to do it on one platform that you're already familiar with.
And it's funny, and not to make this a culture thing, but I find that many Canadians love Klaviyo, and a lot of people in the U.S. love Active Campaign. I don't like either, but that's just me. I've used both of them, and it's always, hey Rob, fix my Active Campaign. Well, I didn't set it up. I don't know what you're doing. It's like, oh. I always get someone else to do it. It's just, I guess that for me, it was always, and my first experience dealing, I think goes back to, I think 2010 dealing with Infusionsoft. And that just turned me off to all the different things that I was supposed to do. And now they go by the name Keep. Well, they can keep it. So I don't like that one either. But
Yeah.
it's just for me, it was always, like I said, simplicity. And you know, I, if I have to spend hours and hours and hours learning something, you know, that's fine. But I find that Keep and Active Campaign always change things, and then I gotta just continuously relearn it. I don't have time for that. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's usually the case with a lot of business owners as well. They'll kind of choose what's either cheapest or what's easiest. And sure, I mean, like, especially if you're just getting started, it really doesn't matter where you go.
yeah,
But there's certain email service providers where you will kind of outgrow their capabilities. That's why Active Campaign is the most favored one between like large business owners. Um, but yeah, usually at that point, like if you're that big, usually you can find an expert or find someone that can take care of this for you instead of having to rack your brain around it. Because at the end of the day, like your job as a CEO, and this is something I'm learning myself as well as running the agency, is that like your job is to one, put together a team of A players or put together a team of people that just work hard and are driven and are on the same path and vision.
hmm
And number two, you're setting and maintaining expectations and standards within your business. That's kind of your job as a CEO, as a leader. Your job isn't always to, be involved in sort of the day-to-day and the nitty-gritty of email marketing, whatever it is. Like, sure, you might be the face of it, but doesn't mean you have to be filming yourself, editing all your content, blah, blah,
hmm
like that kind of stuff. So
yeah. So how did you get involved with email marketing? Because I've had, I think my first email was almost 30 years ago, and people don't realize that email's been around for a long time. But the new rules have really changed things, and it's not something that most people think about. So I mean, for you to dedicate a lot of your life to email is needs to be congratulated.
thank you. Yeah, it's I mean, sort of how I got into it, like long story short, before I was even a marketer, copywriter, I was in the high ticket sales industry. So I started working for basically a sales coach that presented this great opportunity inside of his own agency. Bought into that opportunity, worked 5 months for free. The agency wasn't set up or optimized at all. There was five of us that basically tried to set up and run the business on behalf of him. Didn't work. I was the second last person to leave. Um, but because I was so burnt out and had such a bitter taste in my mouth over the sales industry, the silver lining out of that experience came from the fact that he's the one that actually was like, hey, why don't you, become like an expert in email marketing? Why don't you tackle this, spearhead this? Because I kept bouncing around between different roles because it wasn't really an established business. And there was five of us. So he constantly switched roles for us. But on the bright side, I enjoyed the process of email marketing. So when I left, I just went all into it because one, it was more congruent with the lifestyle I wanted to have. But number two is it's not that much different than like jumping on someone with a sales call. Like it's copywriting at the end of the day is just sales but in text.
Yeah.
So I had the skill set, I had the knowledge. All I had to do was just write. Plus it gives the ability to get raw and vulnerable and to just like tell deeper stories rather than something like on social media, which those kind of stories pick up, but a lot of people, if you're going with a shotgun approach, don't always care about it. people will care about a deeper story once they already have some sort of connection, some kind of emotional tie with you. And that's when you can really magnify. So that's kind of what got me into it, what made me stay, is that there's just, like you mentioned before, hidden profits. Like there, it's so underutilized. So many people, like, it goes overlooked, but it's one of those back end processes that truly can bring in a good amount of revenue for your business.
And for all you listeners, I want you to focus on one thing. Actually, focus on that one thing. Dan focused on being the best at what he could be, which was email marketing. And yes, like me, we bounced around. We've learned copywriting, we learned marketing, we learned all these different things. But in the end, that one thing, which was email marketing, made him the expert he is. And for me, yeah, I know all these things, but what's really starting to turn me around is writing, producing 43 books in 10 years. Not a lot of people do that, so it's like, hey, Rob, you're known as this guy. Well, I didn't really set out to be that guy. It's just, that's what's happening over the years. So pay attention to what your skill set is, what people are demanding of you, and you're going to find out that your strength is in one thing, which makes you the expert. So, hey, how do people get a hold of you? Where do they go?
Yeah, so you'll find me on Facebook. I post every day on there. Dan Bagniuk, Bagniuk, my last name. I'm also on Twitter. You can go over there, follow me as well. I do have an email list. Not really promoting anyone to join it. If you want to join it, sure, I'll add you. But other than that, yeah, I also do have an email list. But primarily Facebook, Twitter is kind of where I'm at. So yeah, message me there. If you want to work with my team, message me there and we can chat. But that's where you'll find me. You'll be able to read my content. You don't even have to reach out to me. You can just read what I post.
And your company is called Hidden Profits?
Yep, hidden profits. Yeah, worked
Yeah,
out
so
really well.
if you go on his Facebook, and hopefully he keeps the banner up for a while, it says Hidden Profits, collect an extra 500K to $1 million a year as a high ticket coach. And so, if you are in the coaching space, or you have a high ticket item, go to Dan. He's going to help turn your emails around. And honestly, if you have an email list, and this is what we haven't touched on, but I know a lot of you have collected emails over the years. Make sure that you clean that list, because there's a lot of people out there that change their email address quicker than they change their underwear. And so you don't want a high bounce rate.
Yeah. One thing I will leave though is if you do have like a big email list, don't get discouraged. Like, so the client that I mentioned that made 72.5K within 9 days and then 700 within 100 days, they also have like a big list that they just didn't really promote their offers to. Like they weren't really consistently emailing it to. And that's usually the case with a lot of clients. They do have a list, they just haven't really touched it. Then we'll take over and there's the hidden profits just pop up. So yeah, like there's always like there's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of leverage in that email list. So yeah, if use it. If you
What do you look for in a client? I mean, if someone says, well, I only have 300 people on my list, that it's probably not something that you want to help with. But if they have, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000.
Yeah, so for our clients specifically, what we look for is a coach that's doing at least 100K per month in cash collected, not revenue, but cash collected. They have a list of 20K plus or more, and they're spending anywhere between 10 to 20K on ads every month. So yeah, if you fit those metrics, typically all of those things show me that your business is growing, you're feeding your list constantly, and you have an audience that wants to hear from you, that wants to continue to buy your stuff. So those are that's why I set up the criteria the way they are. But usually, yeah, even if the thing is though, size of the list doesn't always matter. I've seen people with fairly small lists outperform people with big lists. It just depends who you actually bring into your list. So
And
yeah,
I know people who spend 30,000, 40,000 a month on Google ads and spend nothing on email or social media or anything else. And it's like, you know the power is in your list, and you could probably make more money with your own list than you could giving Google even more money.
Yep. Plus, its own media. You know, if you get shut down on Google or if Facebook has another blackout or Instagram decides to ban you for no reason, like you can still make money because you have control over that asset instead of leveraging somebody else's asset or somebody else's platform to grow your business on. Because it's some people like to say like if you know if they're not if you don't have a list like you don't have an audience like it's
Right.
not yours like you can get banned and they'll disappear and but yeah so like I said, there's a lot of leverage in just having control over your own audience and being able to actually communicate with them no matter what any of these platforms do.
Oh, this is awesome. And for all you guys, please visit Dan on Facebook or Twitter. Well, X now. And make sure you start growing your lists because the money's in the list. Until next time, adios.